When you went into these races, I assume you had like some sort of a race plan, or was it just like pedal to the metal and see how long you last?
I suppose the race plan was to not die over the last 10K. Yeah, that was the key one.
Yeah.
But I think, so generally it goes where I tell myself, okay, the swim, the key one is to find a pair of good feet, hang on to that, save energy, conserve energy. You need all the energy you can get on the bike. On the bike, you need to push the power that you plan to push, stay aero, try to keep your 12 meters distance and find a good bunch of people to go with. Right? But in Europe, it's very hard because everyone is so fast there that people just come flying by you all the time. Like, even if you're going at 40, they come flying by you at 45. So you need to be quite disciplined on the bike because it's 4.5 to 4 hours, 40 minutes out there. So whatever little bit of energy you waste there, eventually it adds up and it will impact you on the run. So it was just a matter of really staying disciplined, keeping the heart rate within range, or I should say, in my case, below a certain target number.
Yeah.
And then on the run also, really staying patient for the first 30K before trying to push the last 10K or so. Yeah.
And how did you respond? Let's say now we go back to New Zealand, which you said was kind of a build-up race.
Yeah.
But at some point during the run, you realized that you're not going to break 9. Did you still push all the way, or did you ease off a bit?
Yeah, I was third in the age group, so you'll be pushing all the way, right? So so it was a bit of a mistake there, right? So but I mean, I had a good time, really enjoyed myself, extracted all I could from myself. So yeah, I mean, it was a very satisfying race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though you failed 9, you still were very happy with it.
Yeah. I mean, when I looked at it, only the pros went under 9. There was only one age grouper who went under 9.
Yeah.
So all in all, relative performance-wise, and then these are all really strong guys. So relative performance-wise, based on the weather, based on the conditions, it was probably a really good performance. And if I think conditions were better, and I suppose the roads were a little bit smoother, then I think 9 would have been possible on the day itself. Actually, yeah. So I suppose now that it's done, also, when I suppose I can be a bit kinder to myself in some ways when you judge yourself. Maybe not so much on time, but on, I suppose, how you've executed the race, what you got out of it, and whether or not you've done your best really. And I think that should be the way going forward.
Yeah. Then Copenhagen, September 8:56. Can you give me a short summary of that race?
So I started off in the front. I found a good swim pack, quite lucky. So that's the first thing you need in the day, is to be lucky enough to find a pack that's going at the pace you want, and you are right in the middle of the pack, right? So I found a pack that's going about 133, 132 sort of pace, right? So when I got to the end of the swim, 59 minutes, tick, first part done. Push that, look back, move forward. Went to T1, did the absolute most stupid thing possible. Forgot to check the number. I took the wrong bag. Went to the changing side and found that, oh crap, I took the wrong bag.
Wow.
Had to close everything back up, bring it back, hang it back, right? And then pick my bag. So that cost me a minute there. And at that point in time, I was absolutely livid with myself, because I didn't know how much that 1 minute will come back to bite me to bite me later on. But then I thought, okay, it was done and done. So I quickly got on and I probably wasted about a minute plus there, and gone to the bike and went off on the bike. On the bike, I thought I was going okay. I was going by at about like 38 to 40 most of the way. But at some parts, I was really wondering if I was going fast at all, because you see all these Euro bikers come by you, literally just fly by you. But as I mentioned, really you just need to be disciplined about it. Keep the heart rate low, keep eating, keep drinking, and conserve your energy really. So I got off the bike feeling quite okay. Quick transition, and on the run, the first 21Ks went by quite good also. I was going about 1/3, I think the first half marathon took me 1:29 to 1:30, somewhere about there. And then after the third lap was when I got a tad worried. My legs felt heavy, but I was still running at a pace that was quite good. So I was still pushing out 4:20s to 4:30s. So I just kept that going until the end really. In the last 5K, I was tempted to push the pace a little bit, but then you just don't want that cramp to come then, because if you cramp up, right, then it might cost you a bit of time, even though in the last 4 or 5K. So it's only really in the last 1K or the last 1.5K when I kind of knew I would make it. When I saw like 10 minutes there, then I knew that even then, if I cramp up, I had to walk, I'll probably still make it. And as long as I don't run to the river and I keep running straight, and I should be fine. So that was kind of when you can let loose a bit and just try to enjoy the kilometer or so to the finish line, really.
So how did that feel? Like
I feel great, right? I mean, it's a combination of a long project. Every time you work towards something, you put in all the time, all the effort, and it finally pays off. It's a nice feeling. So it's no different from that sort of feeling. Finally after all the hard work, all sacrifices, here you are, and you've done it, right? So you've earned it, you've put in the work, and it's really a satisfying feeling. Yeah.
So there was more happiness than relief, or?
It was more happiness, really. It's not so much relief because it's not like I've anything to prove to anyone, right? So it was more for myself, and I guess my wife, my family, who's been through me throughout the whole journey. Right? It's been a long journey. There's a lot of sacrifices being made. So it's nice to see that. Yeah, it means something at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of about it. It's not so much like a relief, like, oh, now it's fine. It's more like yes, the work was worth it. The work actually did work. What was doing was not wrong. You just needed to be patient. I think that was a very good feeling. Yeah.
And you mentioned your wife, so I'm sure she must have been supportive through all this. How was that conversation when you told her you're going to take time off from work to focus on this?
I suppose she was okay with it. We looked at it. We looked at the finances and all, and I was like, okay, we're in an okay place. I don't have kids, so half a year or a year, I think she was okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Looking at the splits, I've looked at Italy, New Zealand, and Copenhagen. There was very minor differences in your swim, also minor differences in the bike, but your run improved by half an hour.
Yeah.
So it really paid off.
So it's really on the run, and I think the advice here is that the run. With Ironman, sometimes the run takes time to develop. I think in most people also, right? So if you don't get it right the first time, really don't give up. Sometimes all you need to do is just keep up that consistency, that volume throughout the years, and you find that eventually you get strong enough to handle the run after the bike, really. And at the same time, you also get stronger on the bike and the swim. So that kind of also helps with the run when you can swim a little bit faster but not feel as tired, and also same with the bike, really. Yeah.
Then a question that maybe sounds a bit strange, but let me elaborate a bit. I want to ask you what you think was your best race, because from my personal experience, my best race wasn't my fastest. And I looked at your results, and you have mentioned it yourself. In New Zealand, you were only 30 minutes behind the top age grouper.
Yeah.
You were 4 minutes behind the last pro, and you finished 4th in your age group.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
In Copenhagen, you were an hour.
Behind some fast guys. Yeah.
And you were 9th in your age group. So even though you went faster in Copenhagen, you placed relatively better in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I think Europe's just, I think, as Australia and New Zealand are really quite competitive in your race. A lot of the world's best age groupers are from there. But Europe is obviously a different level. So both were, I would say, quite memorable performances. But I suppose New Zealand was a little bit more memorable just because it wasn't a great day. And the time wasn't fast, but I really thought that I executed quite a perfect race actually.
Yeah.
For that, yeah. I say it was actually similar to Copenhagen. I thought executed quite well, but New Zealand had that extra feel about it just because there were other things stacked against you, right? like the weather and all this other sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear because when I heard about your projects, I didn't know you, so I someone told me this guy in Malaysia he's trying not to break 9. So my first question was, what is his times from previous races? So I heard that you did 9:28 in Italy, and I thought that's maybe okay. So it's ambitious, but definitely I felt that you had to be in the ballpark. Like 9:28 to 9 is doable with a little bit of progress, but also I feel like it's a lot of variables outside of your control that can contribute to the results. For instance, the course, the climate on the day, all these things. So you also need a little bit of luck maybe to make
it. So I absolutely agree. As much as I don't like to admit it, but luck is a key component of it, right? So sometimes you just find that right swim group to go with.
Yeah.
And as you come out with the right swim group, there's also the right sort of bikers to go with, people to keep you in line with a good pace. And at the same time, also, it's same for the run. You find one or two guys you can hang on to, latch on to, go at a good pace. It absolutely helps you. So, and also sometimes it's also an element of I suppose, how you feel on the day, right? You can do everything that you need to do up to race yourself, but sometimes race day you feel a little bit off, right? Maybe 90% of your best, and you still don't quite get what you want. So I mean, all in all, sometimes when I think about it, a perfect performance doesn't come by very often, just because all these factors need to be in place, really, actually. So which is why it's quite amazing to see how the pros really get that sort of good performance consistently time after time, because it's not easy to have everything fall into place, right? Yeah, but I absolutely agree with you. Luck is a part of racing. But what people have to do is you have to put yourself in the right position to be lucky. If that makes sense. So and that requires some thought, right? So like, let's say if like for the swim, you want to swim with people of a particular speed, then obviously don't wait at the back. Don't go into the slower pen. Maybe try to start further up in front, right? Because the thinking is that right, if you go in front, you might have people swim all over you, but eventually there'll be the faster guys coming from the back, which you might hang on to. So that increases your chances of finding a good pack to swim in, right? Or if it's a mass race, you gotta think about where you're going to start, where the faster swimmers might be, and generally, the faster swimmers are also the faster bikers. And when you come up with them, there's a bit of luck there that you get the right sort of bikers or the right sort of folks to ride with, right? So I mean, so some planning also is required in order for you to try to, I suppose, maximize your luck, you could say, in that sort of way.
For sure.
But we all try. You never know what happens on race day, but you have a think about it and see what you can do to maximize your luck.
Yeah. Now, I know that fueling is highly personal, but you mentioned that you felt that your fueling in the beginning maybe wasn't optimal. What changes did you make, and how did you plan your fueling for the last couple of races?
So I suppose, like for me, in terms of fueling, well, the good news is in Europe they give out Morton everywhere. So it kind of makes fueling a bit simpler in that sort of way. But I suppose I just paid a bit more attention to things like grams of carbs per hour, sodium per hour, a little bit more than my first race, and try to stick on top of the numbers a bit better. And I think that's kind of helped. So I've never really bonked like before the race. Most of the time I suffer from cramps, but I found that over the last few races, as I got a bit better on in terms of run strength and be a bit more aware of my sodium uptake, then I think things kind of turned around a little bit more.
Okay.
So I think that has kind of been the sort of major change of in terms of fueling for me, just sort of being a bit more aware of how much you need to take and when, and also making sure that by the end of the bike you finished everything, you've gotten enough calories into you, and also on the run also be a bit more disciplined about gels and stuff like that has overall helped. So I think that kind of also links back to race execution. Right? Just got a bit better with it.
And how much do you take on your bike and run?
For me, on the bike, I think over a 4.5 hour bike ride, you're looking at roughly about 400 grams of carbs. Somewhere about there. And then on the run, it's close to, so on the run I go by one gel every probably about 2 aid stations, so that's about 4K, so probably about 10 to 12 gels on the run. Somewhere about there.
All right. And do you have any go-to breakfast for your races?
No, I try to keep things as similar as possible. It's before a race, I'll have some oats, banana, peanut butter, and honey, and then 2 eggs. I think that's kind of about it, really.
And did you,
quite simple,
have you developed any other like pre-race rituals now that you kind of have to do in a certain way?
No, not really actually. I just try to make sure I sleep as much as I can the week during the race itself. Try to sleep a bit earlier in the week before the race, because you don't get that much sleep the day before the race also. So I try to move my sleeping a little bit earlier. But no, I'm not that superstitious a person, so I don't really have any pre-race rituals. So I just take the normal stuff I eat. Take a caffeinated gel 45 minutes before we start. I think that's kind of about it, really.
Then the other thing, I think, like you said, it's important to put yourself in a position where you can be lucky. And I think a very important thing is that you're able to manage and absorb training without getting injured, without
Yep.
getting burnouts.
Yep.
Did you have any issues with these things, or?
So I suppose I'm quite lucky with that. I've never, well, touch wood, I always don't want to say this, right? Because I've never really suffered from any injuries and things like before. But also I think burnout also, I've never really quite have that. I suppose I'm quite good at knowing when to back off.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, like nowadays I'm not doing much, so maybe just an hour a day and a weekend long bike and a long run just to keep myself healthy. So it's all part of the cycle, I guess. I mean, one of my old coaches used to tell me also, every time you have a PB performance, make sure you have a PB recovery also, because you kind of need it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the sort of logic I try to go by lah.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. So I think the first killer of progress really is consistency for most people. So if you get injured, you fall sick, then that kind of sets you back. So really, my first golden rule is touch wood, is try your best to not get injured or fall sick, so that you can just keep doing something most days and every day, and then you find that over a long period of time it kind of builds up. Yeah.
Were there any times during this year or couple of years where you did ease back? I mean, like you told your coach that I need to take it a bit easier now, or were you able to follow?
No, I think he was always quite good. So the times when I was working also, he was able to plan now. I mean, also we were still doing some double sessions during the times when I was at work. So but maybe mainly morning and evenings, right? So I think the real key difference of suppose having like a sabbatical or some time off from work is that you can do a lot more cycling.
Yeah.
So you can spend like maybe twice a week, you can hop on the trainer after lunch or before lunch, and you can do 3-4 hours there. And you can do that in the midweek, which you don't quite access to if you are working.
Yeah.
But I think from a run and swim perspective, whether you're working or not, you can still do quite a bit. It's the key differentiator is really on the cycling. I feel. Yeah. But no, I don't really remember a time where I had to tell my coach to back off. I think the only time maybe when I said used to have a bit of a rethink, a little bit more break, was after Taiwan, when I kind of realized that it's if we don't take care of it, it might develop into something. So I thought, okay, it'd be good to take a step back, take a bit of a break, right? Then we can continue onwards again after a couple of weeks. Yeah, and it worked out well. Yeah.
Yeah. What does your training volume look like throughout this year?
Nowadays nothing much. Maybe an hour a day. Weekend, as I mentioned, a long ride and a bit of a run, a bit of a longer run. But generally, when there was time, you would still probably swim 3-4 times a week in the mornings, an hour-ish, and then sometimes in the afternoons you'll do a long bike, 3 to 4 hours twice a week, right? And then weekends you'll probably bike twice. You'll do one long ride, one faster saw ride combined with a long run. So I think all in all, about during peak weeks, probably about 25 hours.
And then non-peak week, how low did you drop?
Non-peak weeks probably you go about 15, I guess, actually. But then, to be fair, because it was quite an intense year for me, as it was only that particular time I could get on top of other family commitments that I had to sort out. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't. Now I think back, there was just a lot of volume, lots of racing and lots of training, which was quite fun. But yeah, wouldn't recommend anyone to do it for the long term.
Now that you've done this, and like I said, I only heard about you when someone told me that this crazy guy is trying to do sub-9. But I saw when you succeeded, there was a lot of mention of you and congratulations in social media. So clearly a lot of people had heard about you and know about you now. So do you feel you're getting more attention? Are people contacting you for advice?
I mean, yeah, there's some of them do. Maybe a bit more. I mean, I'm always happy to share advice and tips if anyone wants it. I think it's good to share. And I suppose my personal philosophy is that knowledge is probably only useful if it's shared. It's probably not very useful if I keep it all to myself. But to be fair, I don't really have any secrets or special techniques to share with anyone. I think for 90% of us, it's really a matter of being consistent, knowing that there'll be highs and lows. You just got to get through the lows and enjoy the highs while it's there. Keep consistent over the years, and you find yourself getting pretty good, really. Yeah, but I think life hasn't really changed. You still go back to work, still sit at a desk looking at computers all day long. So it's not as if like after you've done this, suddenly you get like accolades or like $1 million from the government. Nah, that doesn't work that way. You still go back to work. But I suppose with a better sense of for myself, with some sense of a very good sense of satisfaction that I know that like okay, so if we plan things out, things have worked out. You've worked hard. You've earned it, right, in a sort of way, right? So I think that's a very good feeling, and I'm hoping that at least the adventure will probably inspire a couple of guys to maybe think a bit differently of what they're capable of, right?
Yeah.
And maybe try to push the envelope a bit. I think that's kind of where I'm hoping it will go, right? So you've got a couple of guys who might look at it. Yeah, this is quite an interesting project. If I work hard at it long enough, what can I do?
Yeah.
And I suppose the only way to find out is to work hard long enough so that you see where you end up, right? So hoping that it kind of inspires people to think that way and to give things a shot. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. When you now look back, are there any like key learnings from this project, and are there anything that surprised you that you didn't expect that you experienced?
Well, I suppose maybe I was a little bit overconfident, but I mean, when people talk about plateaus, right, you think it doesn't apply to you, right? But actually it does. So I think that one kind of tested my patience a bit. Because as I mentioned earlier, you feel like you're doing a lot, you're working very hard, but you just don't quite get the results you want.
Yeah.
And then ultimately it's just about being patient about it, right? And still trying to work through it and understand that it's part of the process, right? Because as you mentioned earlier during lunch, it's not, you don't just PB from one race to the next race to the next, right? It's just not possible, especially when you're quite highly trained after a couple of years, right? Which was the stage I was at, right? So to get to the next level, probably got to hang around the plateau a little bit, let the body absorb the work, right? Rest up, right? And then you find that when the time comes, when the time is right, you're able to really extract out from yourself and push yourself to the next level.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at Malaysia, we are quite lucky here. We have a Ironman home race.
Yeah.
We have some 70.3 and Ironman 70.3s, and of course a whole host of local races. But we seem to struggle to produce top age groupers. Like you said, you talk to any Malaysian that's going to race abroad, they are all shocked to see the people lasting past
I know.
us.
They're fast.
Do you have any thoughts on why this is? Is it like cultural, or are there any other things that you think is holding this back?
Yeah, so I think here I suppose one of the key reasons why we don't get as many top age groupers is also because the number of people participating in the sport is probably not as big as overseas, right? So it's a good place like Australia. You've got pools everywhere. People start triathlon from a young age. So you've got a very big community. So we a lot of people who do it. So and as you move through the levels, right? If you start with a big base, it's always easier to slowly cream off and filter off until you get the fast guys. Right? I think here our base is still kind of growing. We don't quite have that big base. So hopefully, as we improve on that and we get a lot more people participating in the sport, you're able to find talents and you're able to bring up sort of like the standard overall. But then at the other side also, I do know that like triathlon in Malaysia is not really accessible for everyone, right? Because bikes are expensive and the sort of things, and pools are not easily found everywhere. Right? So there's also that sort of challenge there that kind of needs to be addressed. So to answer your question, it's not just one thing, it's just a couple of kind of factors that put together, which is why we don't quite get sort of like as many age groupers going fast over here. So one is the accessibility issue, where you don't get, where people find it maybe expensive or hard to get into a sport, and the other one is that you just don't get that big base of folks joining in. So hopefully we can improve on both fronts. Then as you get more people coming in, the sports becomes more affordable and more accessible to people. You eventually find that overall the standard of the sport will improve. Yeah. It's a numbers game. I mean, the best example is badminton, right? I mean, every kid in school plays badminton, start from like 5. You can hold a racket, you play, right? So you've got a really big base, right? And then out of that big base, you've got a couple who are really serious about it, very talented, and you slowly get creamed off and filtered as you move up the system. And then you end up with even normal players, or what we call age groupers, who are really good badminton players. So it's the same concept that needs to be applied to triathlon also. Yeah, it's not rocket science, it's a numbers game. Yeah.
Also interesting what you mentioned there about pools and so on, because I'm from Norway. So in Norway, sport is high priority from the government. So every little town will have their football field. There will be a running track around it, and there will be a swimming pool and this is open, this public access. So, for instance, the football field and the running track is open 24/7. There's no bars, no fences, nothing. And the pools, it's publicly owned, so you pay like a token to access. So that was one thing that I noticed when I came here, that it's actually quite hard to find tracks to run on, especially if you want to run in the morning before work. And same with pools, of course. We are lucky we have a pool.
Yeah, because we are in KL, so we're quite lucky.
So I know that you went, you had a training camp in Thailand. Was that to have easier access for a while to all of these things, or was it just to get away from?
It's a bit of both. It's just to get away and just to, I suppose, take a look at how things are done over there. So right, so I managed to train a bit with Jürgen Zach's group, so which was quite nice. But yeah, it's just to also get away a bit and find some nice riding location. I think Thanyapura was great for that. To get on the bike with everything located quite centrally in one place. The pool and the track.
All right. What is next now for your sporting life? We talked already a bit that maybe you want to do some other races and.
So I wouldn't mind going back to Western Australia. I quite like the race. It's also a bit of a revenge race since I didn't do so well there last year. But I suppose I'm interested to see what's left really for myself. How much more I can extract out from myself. So I think that will probably be the next frontier. So I think I know that like for myself, if we go by what we call the more traditional model of training, like higher volume, that sort of style, I can extract quite good results for myself. But now I'm keen to see if there's another different way of doing things, right? A different model of training where you can still extract quite a bit out from yourself, but maybe not with a bit less time commitment So I'm interested in that basically seeing the different ways of getting to the same place basically or getting better really.
And you still haven't done Ironman on Kawi, so is that in your cards?
Yeah, I've done the half. I would like to do a full there someday. It's a good place to qualify for Kona. So I'm thinking maybe when I turn 40, right, then there'll be a next age group. It'll be time to go to Kona. Then you'll be the youngest in the next age group. If I go now, I'll be the oldest already, right? So, but I would like to. Home race tough. It's a brutal race. Every time I do the half, I'm smashed. I did the half last year. So smashed. So I absolutely respect those who take on the challenge and do the full over there, because it's a really hard race. So now that 9 is done, so it's probably on the radar at some point in time, maybe down the line, right? But I think the thing for me is that because you can only race maybe 1-2 Ironmans a year. So sometimes I try to also combine the Ironman to like a vacation for the family, right? So sometimes you tell your wife you want to go to Langkawi for the year-end vacation, it's not very enticing. But then if you say, hey, why not we go to suppose West Australia or Hamburg, then it kind of makes the whole planning a little bit easier and more acceptable, right? So there's also a little bit of that angle to that, where you try to use the races also as a vacation. But I would love to. Half is definitely on my radar because I love the half there. The half there has swim is good. The bike course is about as honest as you can get, right? It's hilly, it's hard. There's no one drafting you, which is fantastic because you drop all of them on the hills. And the run is hot as hell. So the half is great, and you can actually smash yourself on the half, which is what I loved about it. But I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to suffer for a full there.
Well, it's really nice to talk to you, and really, really interesting to hear about the journey. So thank you so much for taking your time.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Feel free to contact me if you need any advice.